Since I did a video talking about menstruation, family planning, sex, reproductive health, people have been in my DM telling me to talk about some of these topics that faced stigma a long time ago. And today we're going to look at one of the topics that also faced stigma for the longest period of time. Even today, in some communities, this topic is still facing stigma because of so many reasons. We are going to look at some of the reasons why this topic is facing a stigma. And before we look at why this topic is facing stigma, we are going to look at how it was viewed back then. So hello guys, welcome and welcome back to another video. So if you're not subscribed, kindly subscribe, like the video, share, comment. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that every time I post a video, you will be the first person to be notified. So the topic that I'm talking about is menstruation. Menstruation was often misunderstood in the ancient and traditional societies because there was little scientific knowledge. People relied on cultural beliefs, religious teaching, and myths. And here are some of the summaries of how it was viewed in those days. Number one, menstruation was viewed as something that was unclean or impure. Menstruating women were often seen as spiritual or physical unclean. They were not allowed to attend religious. Women who were menstruating were not allowed to go to the worship area. They were not allowed to go to the church. They were not allowed to go to mosque. They were not allowed even to be where people are celebrating something related to religion. And I think even up to now, Muslims, when they are menstruating, they are not allowed to go to the mosque. So you find that this led to feeling of shame and isolation to women who are menstruating, or women who are going through menstruation. And remember, menstruation is something natural. You can't do anything about it. You can't stop it. If it is happening, it is happening. Number two, menstruation was taboo and shameful. Menstruation was rarely discussed openly. Girls were often unprepared and they never learned about it. In many communities, it was a source of embarrassment rather than a normal biological process. And if you were heard even talking about menstruation, you were to be punished. Why are you talking such kind of things where people are? Girls were not even allowed to ask a question about menstruation. It was something shameful and taboo. That is how those our grandmother viewed menstruation. And remember, they were menstruating. They just sat down somewhere and I don't know. Anyway, let's continue looking at some of these views. Okay, another view, or how it was viewed like something that is superstitious beliefs. Some believe menstrual blood was dangerous, it was a curse, and it could spoil food or water, it could cause crop to fail, it could attract evil, evil spirit, it could attract evil spirit, it could attract bad omen. That is how our grandparents believe or viewed menstruation. That is how bad it was. And I had a long time ago when I was growing, and I remember at that point I had not started menstruating. And there was a grandmother who was telling her grandchildren that they should not climb the mango tree because they have started menstruating and the tree will not bear fruit. It was that bad. Another reason, menstruation, it was a reason for isolation. In some culture, menstruating women were separated from others during their periods. They stayed in a special hut or rooms, and they often they stayed there even without proper care, without proper support. You are menstruating, you should stay in that hut. Nothing more, nothing less. You're not supposed to speak about anything. And also, menstruation in those days, it was viewed as a sign of fertility or womanhood, whereby if you have started menstruating, they believe that you are capable of giving birth. You are capable of giving birth, and now they should marry you off. They should even force you to go and get married after starting menstruating. I had even some women in those days who were getting married before menstruation. It was that bad. Oh, also, it was controlled by patriarchy. Since most society were male dominated, menstrual health was ignored or hidden. Women's needs during menstruation were not prioritized, and they were not allowed to talk about it. Boys were not allowed to talk about menstruation. They did not know anything about menstruation. If you talk about menstruation when you are with men or when you are in a group of male, you are a bad man. How dare you talk about menstruation? In fact, boys lacked totally knowledge, or let me say, men in those days lacked totally knowledge. They were not even, I think they were just maybe, I don't know, they were not allowed even to know what it is, because they believe it was unclean. Yeah, you are unclean. something that is biological process. Anyway, they were not educated, people were not exposed, people were not allowed to talk about it, people were just view it the way they thought it, the way they thought it was in their head. Yeah. Because of how they viewed menstruation back then, menstruation faced a lot of stigma for a long time due to a combination of culture, religious, social, and historical factors. And these are some of the reasons why the reason why those people viewed menstruation that way. Number one, lack of scientific understanding. In ancient time or in back then, people did not understand the biological process of menstruation. Without knowledge of hormones and reproductive period, this was just something that I don't know how they thought it was happening, but they did not understand the biological process of menstruation. They did not know reproductive system, they did not know reproductive health, they did not have any knowledge about hormones, they did not have any knowledge about physical changes that usually take place when someone is undergoing adolescent stage. So this was just because of lack of understanding. Another thing, it was because of cultural beliefs and taboo. Many cultures believed menstrual blood was dirty, impure, or even cursed. And this belief led to isolation of menstruating women, restriction from cooking, praying, and even touching others, and also use of words like the curse and clean days. Yeah, you could hear people talking about this. This is for you it is unclean days. For you it is because you're menstruating now, you are experiencing unclean days. It was that bad. Also, another reason, it was about because of religious restrictions. Some religious teaching reinforced the idea that menstruating women were spiritually impure, like something that is biological. Biological process is taking place inside you, and someone is just considering that you are spiritually impure. Like for example, in some religion, women couldn't enter the temple or mosque, and I've said even right now, if you're menstruating and you're a woman, you're not allowed to go to the mosque. Muslims are still continuing with these things. And also, like I said, that menstruation was associated with shame and sin. I think when I was in primary school, and you could get that some girls started menstruating when they were still in primary school, and you find that when a girl started menstruating, it was shame. It was shame. You know, sometimes these things are not taught. You don't know about them. You are not at home. No one is talking about it. So if it happened, no one prepared you. I mean, no one is preparing you about this process, and you get that when it happened, it just happened, and it was shame. Yeah, it was shame. Yeah, that is that. Also, another reason is that patriotic society, where a male-dominated society, women's body and health were often controlled or silent. Menstruation was rarely discussed openly, and this silence increased shame and misinformation. Pull up. Lack of education and open dialogue. For generations, menstruations were considered a private and shameful topic. Girls were not taught what they should expect. You know, right now, when someone is in class 4 or grade 4, the reproductive health, education, sex, all those things, these topics that faced a stigma a long time ago, they are being taught when someone is as early as 8 years. So girls they know what they are expecting. Yeah. And also you find that in those days, boys were not educated about periods. They were not even allowed to talk about it. They were not allowed to associate with someone who is menstruating. Media and school often avoided the topic of menstruation. If in case there was maybe a radio or whatever, something that, those television, they were, it was not talked about, in short. And the last one is about social discomfort and myths. Periods were tied to myths like, you should not breathe or cook during your period. Menstrual blood can spoil crops. Period attacked animals. You see? And these were just myths created to make you feel embarrassed, to make you feel shame, to make you feel isolated. I want to say that women, a long time ago, women really went through a lot. Because how can you tell me that something that is biological process is a shame? I can't do anything about it. So what do you expect? Anyway, that is how menstruation was viewed in those days, and those are the reasons why it was viewed that way. So let's meet in the next video when I will be talking about another topic that faced stigma long time ago. Bye, till next time.